what we have here today, Hold Your Breath 2024, available right now on Hulu. Hold Your Breath, just as a piece, as a movie, as a work that's put in front of us. This movie is absolutely significant, just from the subject alone. Let's get into it. Another horror movie for the 31 Days of Dread. We're rocking and rolling. Hold Your Breath. It's October, and it's time for the 31 Days of Dread. This is where you get one horror movie a day for the entire month of October. That's how much we love horror. That's how much we love Halloween on the Film Buff Podcast. And here's the crazy thing. This is the longest running horror event in all of podcasting. So get ready. We're going to rock and roll. We're going to scare our socks off. And yes, we're going to be grabbing some candy. Maybe some cereal. Let's go. Hey, what's up, my AKAPADers? Guys, we are creeping towards Halloween. I love it. Confession. The girly and I, we don't have costumes. We don't have any Halloween costumes. And it's we're close. Like we're in October now. I don't know. Hopefully we figure it out. If we don't get costumes this year, this would be my first time in maybe 6 years, maybe not longer, of not having a Halloween costume. I'm not dressing up. This is insane. I can't allow this. Hold Your Breath. This movie's about the Dust Bowl. If you don't know what the Dust Bowl is, your closest movie reference is going to be Interstellar, that used recorded first-hand accounts of the Dust Bowl for that movie. The environmental terror in Interstellar is portrayed very much like what the Dust Bowl was. This movie's available on Hulu. It dropped October 3rd. Stars, what's her name? Sarah Paulson? Sarah Paulson, am I? She's fantastic. Whatever movie she's in that Rachel Netflix show that I absolutely loved. What we haven't done here, that's horror. But she's adjacent to horror. She's a horror actress. She does drama, but we know her as horror. We like her as a horror actress. So what's the Dust Bowl? Why is it so scary? This movie accurately portrays what Dust Bowl life was like. What life was like in the Mid-South during the Great Depression, where families would be broken up. The husband in this movie is not present. He's off. He's making money for the family, trying to make enough money to send them more money so that they can get the hell out of there. This is a movie about women versus the elements, women versus men, as in women need the protection of men. This is a movie that shows us what it was like for these people to live through this. And it's horrific. It's horrific before we even get to the horror element, which is, it's a fable. It's a story from a children's book. It's a man that transforms into dust, and you breathe him in, and he makes you do evil things. It's an invisible horror. This is a psychological aspect of the movie, and it is done perfectly. This movie ends tragically. This movie ends sad. It does have a hopeful ending, but you just don't feel it. And it's just well executed. We don't have a lot of movies about the Dust Bowl. We don't have any movies about the Dust Bowl. We can kind of go to the Grapes of Wrath. We can go to the beginning of Seabiscuit. We can go to Cinderella Man, the Ron Howard boxing movie, where we get ideas of what the Great Depression was like. But we really don't get a huge portrayal of what the Dust Bowl was. This movie does it, and this movie does it so well. It deserves absolutely all of your attention. It deserves study. This movie should be repeated. You should watch. History classes need to watch this movie. Now, I get it. There's a supernatural element. There's a horror element, but I just feel like the historical significance of this movie outweighs everything. I was blown away. I'm watching this movie, and I had to stop to research, like, what other Dust Bowl movies are there? I kept thinking of Interstellar, And there's not. We have a Ken Burns documentary, which is, I believe, one of his shortest documentaries. I think it's only not 60 minutes, maybe even 90 minutes. That's available on PBS Stream. I think it's available on it might be a couple dollars on Amazon Prime. I recommend watching that too. This is a part of the American experience that is forgotten now. When we think about the world being built, when we think about what our grandparents went through, what our grandparents were knowledgeable of, how our grandparents gained their perspective by what they went through, the Dust Bowl, and even just having knowledge of the Dust Bowl, living on the East Coast or West Coast and having somewhat of a migration and people knowing those individuals, and right, like they would end up in our neighborhoods. This movie's there. Everything goes out to Karrie, Crouse, and Will Joneses. Writer-director. Karrie Crouse is our writer-director. She has a co-director. Good boy, Will. These two individuals, and this looks like to be their first film. So we're back to American cinema runs through horror, or horror runs through American cinema. Whichever way you want to put it. This movie's just fantastic. And I'm curious about the budget, because you watch this movie and you kind of want to say, all right, it's just a bunch of dust. Like, it's not a lot of scenery. Must be cheap. But this movie does look expensive. This movie does look a little bit epic, a little bit grand. And for first-time filmmakers to get a sprawling effect in something that's isolated, it's a juxtaposition that is absolutely rare. For these two individuals, I look forward to everything they can do. Hold Your Breath might be the biggest surprise from this year's 31 Days of Dread. This movie is an absolute treat. It's not a trick. Guys, it's on Hulu. Go check it out. AKAPADers, thank you for joining me for another episode of the 31 Days of Dread. We have been dedicated to horror for a long time on this feed, on this podcast. If you guys want to know more about everything we do here, go to AKAPAD.com. From there, you can navigate to the 31 Days of Dread. We have a dedicated landing page that goes through all the years of the 31 Days of Dread, and we also have a directory that jumps you to any movie that we've done. So you can just look up the movie by name, you can go to the directory, it's all alphabetical, and you can just explore. And that's the intent, and that's why we're so into the 31 Days of Dread, because no one's done this. No one has put this much time, this much thought and effort into American horror and international horror, and we love it. Horror is the future of American cinema. Horror right now is holding up American cinema, and I'm so thankful for it. So I'm hoping that you can extend yourself, explore, and continue the conversation. AKAPAD.com. Thanks, guys.